Could I ask? All right, I guess yes, we are all here. Great. All right. So I wanted to thank our interpreter for being here today to help us, and the other panelists. We have Sarah Lynham. She is the DHS Chief Counsel and head of the Office of Chief Counsel. Rebecca Lee is the DHS FOIA Officer, Freedom of Information Act. And Amy Webb is our Chief of Communications and Community Engagement. So today's topic, as you may have guessed by the fact that Rebecca is here, is the Freedom of Information Act. We try to every year spend a few minutes with you around that and kind of remind everybody of FOIA, as we all refer to it, and our obligations, and hopefully give you a few tips and reminders on what you need to be doing. So I'm going to start with an easy question and pitch this one over to Sarah to start. Let's start with the basics. Sarah, what is the Freedom of Information Act and how does it relate to state employees?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So the Freedom of Information Act refers to a cluster of state laws that allow the public to have access to public meetings that are held by state agencies or other offices. But primarily what we're talking about here is their access provisions for public records. Public records are not just reports or documents that we have, but they also are all our communications. So emails, those are considered public records for the most part. Text messages we make on our phone or on our state devices, those are considered public records, all of which would be subject to a FOIA request and be provided to the requester with some limitations, which I think we'll get more into in a little bit.
Okay, appreciate it. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, why would DHS actually need an entire office to handle FOIA? And why would, so let me turn over to, for those of you, I'm laughing and we're all laughing because we all realize how big the volume is of FOIA requests that we get here at DHS. I mean, we are, I think, probably far and away much busier than other agencies in terms of responding, and we do want to be transparent and open, so we are very responsive. Rebecca, can you talk a little bit about FOIA office? Do let people know how many your office handles, but what kinds of things people FOIA?
Sure. Hey, everybody. So the last couple of years, even though it fluctuates from month to month, we have been pretty steady at around 1,100 requests that we process every year. That's calendar year from January to December. And we get a variety of requests. The vast majority of them have to do with the facilities that we license or survey. So that would be like nursing homes, the HDCs, childcare facilities. And for those types of facilities, they'll request the surveys, the complaints that were filed against them, plans of correction to rectify the problems. And then in addition to those types of requests, we also get requests for personnel files, contracts, and also, as Sarah indicated, we get a good number of requests for correspondence on any given topic that's hot in the state at the moment. So as a reminder and as a general rule of thumb, if you would not want to see it on the front page of the newspaper, you should not put it in your email.
Exactly.
And I was going to add, Cindy, I always tell people that my first year at DHS, at least twice somebody requested my entire email inbox. So everything I had sent and received.
Yeah, we get those kind of requests a good bit, either for everything or I want to see every email between Amy Webb and Cindy Gillespie and Amy Webb and Sarah Lynham and Amy, or Cindy Gillespie and Sarah. So, and that clears, everything has to come out. And Rebecca, when something like that happens, let's just play that one out. Somebody asked, I want to see every email between Cindy Gillespie and Sarah Lynham. They want to see everything Sarah and I have emailed to each other. What do you do with that request?
Well, we usually, first thing we do is request an extension because, as everyone knows, Arkansas has a very strict 3-day timeline to provide the requested documents unless you receive an extension. Those types of requests are probably going to be thousands and occasionally millions of emails. So in that case, I would maybe run a search and come back to the requester and say, okay, well, there's 250,000 emails. And typically the requester doesn't want to go through 250,000 emails either. So they will agree to, let's narrow it down to say all the emails between Cindy and Amy and Cindy and Sarah on this topic or these 3 topics. And that'll narrow it down. And sometimes it's still a lot, but that helps.
And then you go through those, and everybody, we talked often about redacting. What do you redact out of a report, out of an email? You were talking about a survey. What kind of information do you redact so that the person making the request cannot see that information?
Well, it depends on which agency is involved, because we have some agencies that are, divisions, I should say, that are covered by HIPAA, which means they are redacted a little differently than others. But we always take out personal information such as home addresses, home email addresses and telephone numbers, social security numbers, dates of birth, anything that would be a gross invasion of your privacy, or that could, for instance, be used to steal your identity or something like that. As far as with the surveys, we always keep our clients' names out of it. We redact all of those, children's names. Of course, we don't release photos or anything like that.
Okay, but just to make sure everyone understands the point you and Amy have been making, if in that email that I sent to Amy, I said some very ugly things about Sarah, that would not be redacted, would it?
It absolutely would not. And Sarah would potentially be reading it on the front page of the newspaper, just like everybody else.
So what are some
please
of the
don't do that.
So I would never say anything about Sarah. But tell us a little bit about some of the kinds of things that you see in emails that you really wish you didn't see, because you then have to send it out. People think that their privacy is protected. It's, as a state employee, all that's protected is that basic information that you mentioned that could prevent someone from stealing your identity. The
That's
fact
right.
that you said ugly things about your supervisor or about, none of that is protected. It will go out.
None of that is protected. And unfortunately, we see quite a little bit of that, people being catty about their colleagues or as you said, supervisors. And so, yeah, you need to be aware that that is not something we redact. The fact that it might embarrass you or get you in trouble is basically, it's your fault. You shouldn't have put it in there.
Things about your husband, things about your wife.
Exactly. Romantic interludes, things that are going on between you and someone at the office. First of all, Debbie and I, who do the email searches, would prefer not to read that, although sometimes it is interesting. But yeah, no, don't put any of that in your business email. That needs to strictly be in your personal email or personal cell phone text.
Okay. So, Amy, Rebecca and her team are part of the Office of Community and Community Engagement. What do you want people to know, or what do you want to tell people about what they need to do if for some reason someone did reach out to them about a FOIA?
Sure, and we do see that sometimes where someone has sent it to a county office or they'll send it to a facility. The first thing to know is, like Rebecca said, the FOIA law is pretty strict. So we have 3 days to respond to a FOIA request. So if you get something that says it's a FOIA request, or you think it's a FOIA request, then I want you to send it to the DHS FOIA email address. Rebecca, can you remind me what that email address is?
Yes, it's dhs.foia@dhs.arkansas.gov. Same domain as everyone.
Yeah, and then that's all you need to do. We'll take it from there. We'll respond. We'll make sure that it's handled in a timely manner. But we just need it because we can't respond and stay up to date and current if we don't get it.
Okay. So Rebecca, if you've got a FOIA request that you actually, most FOIA requests, you and your team are able to just go into the DHS IT systems and pull the information yourself. But there are some things where you go to the divisions and you make a request for them to assist you in pulling together the information. What do people need to know? What do you need people to do when you reach out to them?
I need you to be timely, and this is a great time for a shout out. We have a fantastic FOIA team. We have, I guess, embeds, you can call them, in all the various offices and divisions. And except for, I think, with the exception of the DIP squad team, everyone else has another job. FOIA is just part of their job. So they do a great job, and they're quick and they're on top of it. And we've had, challenges of learning how to redact and what gets redacted and what doesn't. And we have turnover, so people have to be retrained. And through all of that, they really do a fantastic job. And I'm very thankful for all of them. But yeah, the best thing to do is to be cooperative, to jump on top of it, to get it to the right person in your division to actually pull the records. And then the FOIA liaison for that office or division is responsible for doing the redacting. Again, if it's correspondence related, that's all done in the FOIA office. Debbie, Bazita, and I handle all of that. But actual records, such as the surveys and things like that we were discussing, have to come from the division. So those come to us, and then we review the redactions to make sure they're correct and get it out as quickly as we can.
The DIP squad team also does an amazing job because they get such a huge volume.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
great. All right. Sarah, I think sometimes FOIA gets confused with subpoenas. And we have a separate office within the Office of Chief Counsel that actually, the privacy office that actually handles our subpoenas. Can you talk about the difference between the two, a FOIA and a subpoena?
Sure. So if you're looking at FOIA, there's a number of exceptions to public records. So something may be a public record, but it's not something that can be released under FOIA because there's an exemption under FOIA. So a lot of times those kind of records are requested by a subpoena. And those go to the subpoena, dhs.subpoena at email address, and they're handled in our privacy office. They also handle other records which are not, requested under subpoena, but there may be separate legal authority for those to be released under specific conditions. But the type of things that are requested and handled in the privacy office are things like child maltreatment records, and those can sometimes be requested in other investigations if there's a criminal investigation or that kind of thing. A lot of times the state nursing board will ask for copies of investigative records if there's an issue in different facilities. There's a number of other organizations that have specific authority to make those requests, and those ones are handled through the privacy office.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead, Amy.
Cindy, we have a question in chat. Do you mind if I answer it?
No, go right ahead.
So someone asked if Skype is part of FOIA. So let me just give you a quick background that all of your emails, even if you delete them from your inbox, are archived. So we can pull them for FOIA purposes because that's required by law. Skype is, we always tell people Skype is not meant for business communications. If you need to do work that needs to be kept in as part of FOIA, please use your email address. The Skype system does not archive. So those messages are not archived and subject to FOIA. Now, if you have a message in Skype and someone right that moment asks you for it, if it's there, we have to turn it over. And one thing I learned over the years is Skype does keep documents. Sometimes that I was not aware of, but somebody asked for any Skype documents and I did have to turn those over.
So we take FOIA very seriously here at DHS. We have a legal obligation to do it, but we also believe very much in being transparent. That's why we've actually, in order to make sure we are responsive and we do meet the timeframes, that's why we did establish an office. Rebecca and team have done an amazing job for the volume we get. It is absolutely amazing that they are able to be timely and to keep things moving. So I appreciate that very, very much. But we talk about this every year, partly to remind all of you to make sure you keep your business emails and your business activities strictly business, right? You don't want your personal life getting caught up in a FOIA, but also to remind you that this is an important obligation we have as an agency to be transparent and to put the information out when we are asked for it. So please, if for some reason you get asked to help produce information for a FOIA by Rebecca and team, please work with them quickly. And if for some reason you are found, someone sends you a FOIA, get it to Rebecca and team through that DHS email so we can respond quickly. Amy, there's a couple of other notes that have come through. Do you want to take a second and respond to these, or would you prefer just to send it back out in writing?
We can send something out, but I can respond real quickly to one. Sarah may need to help with the personal cell phones. But in terms of like Microsoft Teams or Zoom, if we have Zoom recordings, those are subject to FOIA requests. So same as if we have messages in Teams, those would be subject to FOIA. Right now, we do not have a way to search those from Rebecca's office. So we may have to get the person whose Teams it is to do a search if that's something that is asked for.
Sure. And on that other question, yes, to the extent that you're conducting business activities on your personal phone, your personal computer, personal devices, yes, those are subject to FOIA. So, we encourage people to do those things on our business equipment and not use your personal equipment for those. And that is one of the reasons for that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very, very much. And if you have other questions, please shoot them. I think the best place would be either to Amy or Rebecca, and they will get answers back to you. So thank you all for tuning in, and we really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Cindy.